Mr. Speaker.
John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's been interesting in the House this afternoon listening to commentator after commentator, member after member, talking about history. Well, a bit like the Leader of the Opposition, I'd been in the aid business before I came to this place. And here's some history. It's actually set out in Time magazine this week, 25th of June, page 9. Who wants to be a millionaire is the little heading, and it ranks the countries with the greatest proportion of households as millionaires. And the lead country is 17% share. What's the name of the country? Can anybody tell me? Let me tell you, it's Singapore. Now, Singapore, same size as Lake Taupo, no assets, no natural resources, same sort of population as New Zealand. So how come Singapore's at the top of the pile? Because when I went to Singapore in 1977 in our High Commission there, your government, sir, your government at that time was giving them aid, foreign aid. And what was one what was one New Zealand dollar worth in 1977? $3.40 Singapore. What is it today? 1 for 1. Who's got the top of the millionaire pile? Singapore. Where are we? We don't even rate. There's got to be a reason for that. There's got to be a reason for that. How is it that Lee Kuan Yew and his governments have moved his country from third world to first world in 30 years? I'll tell you how they've done it. They've done it without corruption because they've had a clean government. They've done it from pragmatic, common sense economic policies. And if we want to stay in that space in our community, if we don't want to buy Herceptin for women who've got cancer, if we don't want to retire at 65 and push the age back to 75, then just stick with the Labour New Zealand First arguments. Just stick to New Zealand First and Labour and Green arguments. Because in my view, I would rather listen to the community that voted in the last election, and in my electorate, the community voted for exactly this legislation. I stood on the platform, no New Zealand First candidate, but there was from Labour and there were from Greens, and they got trounced by the people of Wairarapa. They said, no, we don't want to listen to holding these assets. We don't want to have more foreign debt so we can pay interest to foreign bankers offshore. Thank you very much. We don't want to increase debt. We don't want a downgrading of our credit. We want to sell 49% of some of our assets so that we can use the capital to build better skills, to build better science blocks, to keep the Wairarapa Hospital going in Masterton and those sort of things. That's what the community said, and I can tell you what the polls are saying now. The polls are saying 60% of those polls want to buy these shares. They want to buy these shares. So I don't understand what the opposition is on about. The community has said, we want to build a more competitive and productive economy based on savings and investment, because that's how Singapore got there. They had 30% saving in their economy, and everybody paid. And we want to move away from foreign debt. We want to move away from foreign lenders. We want to keep the money in our country. So just keep in mind, Mr. Peters, that we see on television almost every night of the week now the damage being done, that too much debt is done to countries like Greece, a failed state, that has damaged Spain, that is going to come up with damage industry in Italy, that today damaged Cyprus. We can see it, and we don't want it in New Zealand. No, we do not. My people in the Wairarapa don't want to see that at all. So what we've done, what this legislation does, it says we will guarantee that the government, the people of New Zealand, will own 51%, a controlling interest in the shares, and we're prepared to strengthen our capital market by attracting money from other people, particularly New Zealanders, to purchase these shares. And doing that will help us not going to foreign lenders. And also by requiring and preventing any other than a New Zealand shareholder owning more than 10%, that will ensure widespread New Zealand investment. This, Mr. Peters, is a partial share float. A partial share float. Not not a whole share float as your government presided over, it's a partial share float. And the point of doing it is to broaden and deepen our capital markets. We need to grow our capital markets, but he's not bald. We need to grow our capital markets because that's how our companies get the opportunity for more capital to grow further, to add more jobs, and to get into businesses like pharmaceuticals and electronics like Harvest Electronics and Masterton that are going to grow significant businesses and export income for this country. Mr. Speaker, this debate is about three things. It's about controlling our national debt, it's about strengthening our capital markets, and it's about providing funding for new, high-priority infrastructural projects. Mr. Speaker, if the opposition is so against the partial sale of these assets, then I would invite them, any member of the opposition, New Zealand or First or Green, to stand up in this House in this debate now and give an undertaking that, should they make the Treasury benches, they will buy the shares back. They will buy the shares back. Mr. Speaker, I want to see a brighter future for my children, for my grandchildren in this country. I support this legislation unreservedly. Thank you.
David Clark.